In 2022, I bought this silver birch Yamadori stump, and you know what? There are two crucial lessons I should have known, and I'm going to tell you those right now. There's also two others that I might tell you a little bit later on that are as equally important. Now, I'm not going to make you wait for 15-20 minutes to hear. I'm going to tell them to you straight away. So if you want to switch off after that, that's fine.
No, it's not. It's not okay.
But for those of you who are intrigued and want to know about the other two really useful tips, well, they'll come along as we work our way through the journey of this Yamadori in 2024. I know, there's a load of you saying, I can't even see that tree. Why am I going to bother watching? Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to see this in much better detail, on a much better background very, very soon. And it'll be worth it. So go on then. When I collected it, there were two major things I didn't sort out and didn't check, and nearly killed this tree in the first year. And the first of them is the container you collect in. This came in a classic plastic blue tote box, and it had no real big aeration holes. There was no good transfer of oxygen and water between the soil and the roots, and in effect everything in there that had been collected rotted. So my first big tip, get it into probably a good old-fashioned wooden box. And the second one I'm going to give to you straight away, the soil. The soil for this one, when I collected it, I didn't even check. I just assumed it was going to be fine. And unfortunately that meant that when I looked at this nearly 9 months later in April 2023, I discovered the tree had no roots, the soil was like mud, and in essence the tree was ready to die. So if you're going to do anything at all before we hit the intro, get the soil right, nice free draining, big particle size. Ideally for Yamadoris, I'd go pumice. And the second thing, make sure you've got yourself a decent container that is going to allow the thriving and growing of a good set of roots. If that's enough for you, thanks very much for watching. But for the rest of you, there's quite a lot, because we're going to see the journey of this in 2024. We're going to see it in greater detail. And all you have to do is watch the intro, and at the end, get two more great tips. Hi, it's Xavier and welcome to my bonsai retreat. We're right at the front of the garden right now, just by the side gate where I take the rubbish out. And for those of you who've watched my Think Ahead series, you'll know that unfortunately this large Yamadori silver birch has sent out some worrying messages to me, and namely that this whole left-hand side upper portion is no more.
It's got me pining for the field.
So I'm going to remove the wire that's here. I want to salvage that. I think the promising thing is, though, is if we look over here, you can clearly see we've got lots of buds shooting out. Again, I'm going to remove the wire from there as well, and I'm going to really have to let that shoot out a long way, because I need these to thicken up probably twice the thickness if I'm going to ever consider a new design that incorporates just this and the whole removal of this, which is a shame, but do you know what? Long-term project. Let's see if we can create a bonsai from this massive silver birch Yamadori stump. As I say, this is definitely bent. This is definitely died. I'm not really that hassled about breaking or snapping anything here, but along the way I will just check and confirm that it is actually indeed dead, and there's two ways of doing that. This is the easiest way. Yep, brown as. I was hoping to get a nice sharp crack, but here it's actually a lot of a more deeper colour, which would convince me that it's not dead, but there's nothing going. So anyway, I'm going to keep removing this wire, and if you've ever wondered what the easiest way to remove wire safely without actually breaking the branches or the buds is, you grab some of the wire itself, unwire to that point, again grab in there, careful not to pinch the bark, and this provides a stable platform to do the unwinding from. Again, come to this side, grab the first bite with my pliers, and if I've got another set of pliers I can use those to hold the end that I'm unwinding, and always just be a little bit careful Okay, well, wire's removed. I'll still do the final just checks to make sure that it is actually indeed all browned off, and I'm just slowly working my way down. If I do ever see signs of life, then I won't necessarily be doing the ABC of resuscitation, but I will hold fire and then see if that's going to prompt backbone. But you can clearly see here, everything here is definitely dead. But this is the only thing I would caution, rather than taking the branch straight from the base, because I have at times gone to the base and it's all green, and you actually work your way up and find that you could have started growing from higher up. There we go. That's all gone now. Now, I know the background's absolutely atrocious, but to be honest, I can't carry this on my own. My son's out. I put a rock underneath the bucket, so that's just to cant it up a little bit, and you now see that this branch can become the new leader. We've got stuff growing out this way, and we can actually form a whole new tree. And as I've said already, what we do need to see happen is this trunk here double in size. And the only way that's going to happen, we let all this stuff grow. So what I do have to do is, because I want that growth to spurt on, I'm going to be taking the wire off this side as well. You've seen me do it on the dead side. You don't need to go through it now again. I may shorten some of these buds off or get rid of conflicts so that we don't create inverse taper or swellings or any of those problems. But truthfully, this tree just needs to live, thrive, grow strong and big. Okay, well, 10 minutes later, pile of wire. That'll go into my box, which when I find I've got time, I'll straighten that out. Certainly that'll get reused on the larch behind me probably. Again, I'll apologise again that you probably can't see that well. This is just too heavy for me to carry. What I'm going to do now is just cut some of these branches back before I do a little bit of light weeding. And just to put you into context, because I have imagined that this is going to be part of a longer video, we're now at the 27th of March and it's the first time I've looked at it. Obviously I want the growth into this branch, so I'm just going to clean up, just cut back some of these little ones, because what I don't want is the stuff to go that way. I want it to go up and out that way. And I'm happy to let these buds go out, but we can bring these right back. Okay, and as I say, what I don't want to do is create issues with the taper or anything like that, getting swelling where I don't want it. And I'm looking ideally for where I've got two buds at each of the points. Got nice buds under there as well. Buds there. Let's just shorten it off a little bit. Same with this one. And I think, truthfully, that's as much as I've done. So we've got it down to this sort of conical shape. And to be fair, I imagine we'll have a look at it again in end of May, middle of June, and let's see if we've got much growth from it. Only one thing left to do with it now, apart from say a little prayer. I use these bars here to keep this tree in place, and this cloth, but I actually want to try and get them away because I have no doubt it's marking into the bark now. So I'm going to see and just see just how well this is holding in there. We'll cut the wire. Whoops. Take some rocks out. Okay, and as you see, had some bits of mould growing on there, but it hasn't affected the bark. Okay, so the big thing to find out now is, obviously they were in there to hold it in place. We want to see, yep, that's in pretty good. So all I'm going to do now is pull out some of these weeds. Probably put a load more fertiliser. But again, the difference in soil has certainly made enough of a difference. And we've got some roots growing on there, so I'll continue to weed this out. Got this fungus that grows on it. Don't really want that there. Now there is just a wee bit of movement in it, but certainly not enough that I'm worried about having to secure it back down again. And what it does mean is we've definitely improved whatever the root structure was there. Got some surface roots here. So there we go. That's all sorted out. Looking a nice colour. Bark looking good. And the tree is holding solid. So I'd imagine with a little count, we're going to move forward to sometime when it's a lot more warmer. 3, 2, 1. Well, here we are. It's the 7th of June now, and this is how it's looking. Certainly we've got loads and loads of green growth all over it. Had to give it a big spray because the dead caterpillars, which are still stuck to the leaves, are there. In fact, let's go in and have a look at some dead caterpillars, shall we? Just here, I've had my visit from, in fact they're not dead, they're just sitting on the edge yomping. So I gave them a good spray, but clearly they're still happily gorging on what's there. So definitely need to do some more spraying. And I suppose all I will say is that bear in mind the struggles this one has had. Nothing else has grown from this side branch that I've removed all the stuff from, but I do need to protect and make sure the stuff that is growing continues to grow out big and strong, and we certainly don't want to have bugs hampering that, which it did actually last year as well, if you remember. I'm sure there's a short about the caterpillars or whatever, these sawfly or whatever, but the fact that we've got all the green growth is positive. I'll give it a spray, and I'm not going to brew any pruning at all this year, so next time we'll see this is probably going to be at leaf fall. At least it's alive though, unlike those soon to be dead caterpillars.
500 years later.
Well, it's the 10th of December, and I didn't actually think I was going to be doing any more on this silver birch. What I really want to do is take advantage of this this early winter point to just try and set a few of these silver birch branches in a better position, so that when the buds burst and swell in spring of 2025 and we get that initial push and growth, that maybe I can set some of these branches into a better position and save myself a little bit of time in the wiring process. The good thing about it, there isn't a lot of branches, so I know that I can probably get away with leaving this wire on right through till the post-flush hardened pruning time, and that's really why I'm going to go ahead and do the wiring right now. I've pushed this up on the background a little bit more so you can see a little bit more of the tree structure. I know in the earlier part of this video you really struggled to see anything. Hey, and guess what? There's no leaves now, so there's nothing worth seeing. But let me get some wire on this, and then let's do a little bit of playing with the branches, shall we? Now, the key with any wiring at this stage is that what we don't want to be doing is damaging the bark in any way. So I'm very careful in the application. Again, the coils are going that way, which means I'm going to be rotating this branch and around to bring it across a little bit. Again, here we've got to be careful of the risk of damage, so I am extremely gentle with how I put this wire on. It's an aluminium wire, so it is softer, but it is still going to cause damage to that trunk or that bark if you're not careful with your application. And as I say, we're now heading into the winter, which means if I do any damage, the tree is not really going to be equipped to repair it. And I'm trying to get my coils into positions here so that I can control exactly the direction that these branches are going to be facing. Hence I've got it underneath here, and hopefully there you can see I've got nice reasonably gapped coils, and this is going to allow me to do the initial part of the bending. Okay, well I've had to put a little bit more wire on here. I've put some wire down here, and I've put a little bit of movement here, bringing this one up as a new possible secondary trunk, because I have managed to get a bit more wire and movement on this. Now we're still very straight, just this section here, but it's not a big section, so I've got some movement this way, and I've brought this one back towards us. That could be an interesting setting, and I'll say to you now, one of the things I'm trying to do is to probably distract us from the fact that we're going to have this big almost T-bar here. What I really need is a branch that brings our eye and covers downwards this area, and thankfully right about there we have a nice viable bud. So if that one brings out, that's going to work beautifully in the future. All I need to do now is just bring some of these branches into the more weeping set that I want for when we get these closer in buds budding out in the spring. So I need to get some more wire on. Guess what? 6 degrees right now. They are cold. Now hopefully what you can see down here is I've managed to put some wire on these, brought these branches down. I'm actually doing quite a lot of rotation. Some of these have been rotated 360 degrees to bring them right around. Get something down here, so we've got a general sloping down, but lots of long growth here. Separated this one down here, and on the back I've put some movement and direction to take it out to the back of the tree as well. And then I'm going to work my way around and do exactly the same thing on the other areas. Okay, well here you go. I've actually swapped it round and I've gone for the back as being the front. I've now wired these all out here, and I'm really happy with how the wiring's worked on these. I know, I'm going to apologise. I said you'd get a better look at it. I can't get the blue backboard. This is just too wide, and we are in winter. It's too dark, so I apologise. I've wired these all outwards here, and what I've done is with this at the back, I've been able to bring it down and so create what will effect be a full tree. Again, bringing these down. You can't see these up here. In fact, these are far too long. So let's just cut some of these back and just shorten this one off perhaps. There we go. And to be honest, I am so happy with how this looks. It's all nicely spread out. I'm not worried about the wire. This has had wire on it, as you've seen. Did the wiring again a year ago around this time. Absolutely fine. It's continuing to develop a new root structure. Happy again that we've got good aeration here, and in different points I can actually see little roots that are coming through those holes. All I am going to do now is just go around and tidy up all of the old stubs from pruning earlier in the year. And this is one of the things with silver birch. It's always nice because you get nice clean cuts and just take those stub ends off. Now I know I promised you some tips, didn't I? I said there's going to be 2 more tips. Now hopefully you remember. First one, make sure you get it into a decent container after you've collected it. Then you want to use a good, probably on a tree this size, nice big grain, free draining thing like Parma, zeolite, akadama, anything like that. I know it's expensive, but if you're going to go to the trouble of collecting a Yamadori tree from the wild, you want to give it every opportunity for survival, because it's going to take some work. This is not a fast process. The 2 other tips I was going to give you, well, I think you probably worked out that one, when you buy something, remember this isn't the fault of the person who sells you most of the time, but have a look at what it is. Ask about it. Where did they collect it? What soil is it in? Have a dig around and look in the soil and work it out. Have a look at the container. I know it links to points 1 and 2, but you can possibly save yourself probably some of the hassles I had. If it's at all possible and you're in doubt, get it repotted. You don't need to take any roots off, just get it repotted and get into nice soil and a nice growing container. And probably the the 4th big tip that I would give is take your time. Once you have got it into this new container, the best thing you can do is probably let it go for a year. Make sure you give the tree loads of time to regain vigor. We know that when we repot stuff, probably that first year, the tree is investing everything in the root structure. So don't overly stress it, especially if it's collected. And I suppose the final tip I'd want to give out to you is when you collect Yamadori, 1, make sure you've got permission, and 2, pick the right time. You can collect pretty well when you're going to dormancy, but be aware that that normally equates with winter. So you don't want to be going so far into winter that the actual ground's frozen. If the ground's frozen, that's a pretty good hint that if you can't get your shovel in the ground, don't collect.
He thinks I'm an idiot.
But you know, in the UK, certainly I've been collecting in mid to late November, early December, and again, late winter, very early spring, before the buds start to green up and open. Again, equating to sort of that late February, perhaps early March, another great time to collect. Do everything you can to optimize the chances of your Yamadori surviving and making it through to becoming a great, stunning bonsai. Anyway, if you want to see more about the problems this root's had, this is the video to watch. Absolutely stunning video. Otherwise, happy bonsai. God bless. Cheers.